Welcome into another episode of Locked On Phillies. The Phils complete their first sweep since mid-June, and what a way they got it done.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I'm your host, Connor Thomas. Thank you so much for joining us today. We come to you as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You may know me from some of my other work in the sports talk space. I've been on air over at 97.5 The Fanatic, doing sports talk radio here in Philadelphia for over 5 years. I've been a credentialed Philadelphia Phillies media member for 4 seasons, and this is now my 4th year as the host of Locked On Phillies. Please make sure you're rating and reviewing if you're checking us out in podcast form. You can get us wherever you get your podcasts, if that's Apple, Spotify, whatever the case may be. You can also watch the show on YouTube if you want to see my beautiful smiling face after the Phillies complete the sweep. But if you do check us out on YouTube, I ask that you please hit that subscribe button. It's free and easy to do, and that'll get you notifications when new episodes are posted. So it helps you keep up to date, and it helps us out as well. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now. Check out our friends over at FanDuel. Well, if you had bet on the Phillies to win all 3 games down in Texas, you would be even happier than I already am today, but we should all be very happy if you're Philadelphia Phillies fans. This was such a great series for them. The Phillies, coming into this series, had not won a game in Texas against the Rangers since 2014, opening day. Yeah, that's right. 11 years ago. Not only did they win a game, they swept the series for the first time since mid-June. So we're going to talk all about the sweep and everything that they did over the weekend. We're also going to do a little bit of a standings check-in. So we had a catch-up day on the last off day, so we haven't looked at the standings. And folks, if you haven't seen them, you're going to love the way they look right now for your fighting Phils. And then, well, no Monday off day, we're going to preview the Phillies 3-game set starting in Cincinnati as the second leg of this road trip gets going later on tonight. So let's jump right into what the Phillies did well in this series with the Rangers and what didn't they do well. I mean, honestly, the approach at the plate, it was shaky for like innings, but when you look at total games, right, they were really darn good at just putting together good at-bats when they needed. Take the final game, for example, where you're up 1 run and it's the top of the 9th and you're like, okay, well, we have this Duran guy who's going to come out of the pen. And this game's basically over already. But why don't we get ourselves 1 more insurance run? They get a base runner on. And then Edmundo Sosa in a 3-0 count bunts. And he was showing the whole bat, but Phil Maton, who was on the mound, just couldn't locate anything. But the point is this, like, he took the sacrifice for his team. And we haven't seen the Phillies at points do the sacrifice bunt method. Now, Sosa did go yard in the game. So it might seem weird that he was asked to bunt in that spot, but still, it works. You move the runner up to second. You get the runner in. Next thing you know, Brandon Marshall got the sac fly to make it a 4-2 game, and that makes things feel even easier in the 9th inning. But again, I told you, Sosa went yard in Sunday's game. Kyle Schwarber hit his 41st of the year in this series. Trey Turner hit another bomb. Bryce Harper, like, they swung it well. They had a good amount of hits. And let me tell you something else the Phillies did in this series. They played outstanding defense. If you were not aware when the Phillies acquired Harrison Bader of how good of a defender he is, he showed you in the series finale of this game. Robbing a home run, taking one away from Corey Seager. You feel great about seeing that out there in center field. I need that dude playing every day. I'm sorry, Max Kepler, but find a seat on the pine. Harrison Bader's got to be a guy that's on this team and in this lineup day in and day out. Now, his at-bats are not always the most productive. He's not Kyle Schwarber. He's not Bryce Harper, right? But that's not what he's on this team to do. He's on this team to put together solid professional at-bats, which you haven't really gotten out of Max Kepler for a lot of this season. And he can play really darn good defense when you need it most. Trey Turner had a solid defensive series at shortstop. Some big plays in big spots for the Phillies. Bryson Stott is playing unbelievable defense right now, even when his bat is not there. And for a lot of this season, his bat has not been there. He still gives you gold glove caliber defense at second base. I mean, the Phillies, they just feel like such a damn good baseball team right now. They're doing everything. And the bullpen, even outside of Jhoan Duran, like I talked about this when they acquired Duran, right? This slots everybody down. So Ryan Kerkering can now throw in the 7th or 8th inning. Matt Strahm can now throw in the 7th or 8th inning. Jordan Romano can now throw in the 5th or 6th inning if you need him to and you don't get a lot out of your starter. Tanner Banks has been solid. He can throw in the 5th or 6th inning. And then you have the guys that'll throw in like blowout situations or non-save situations late in the game, like your Max Lazars of the world. And Max Lazar has been solid, and he had a nice outing in this series on Friday night. But you're looking at a team whose bullpen was a major weak spot. And since August 1st, they've been one of the best in all of baseball. Now, it's a small sample size. It's only August 10th. But still, 10-day stretch with the way the bullpen was earlier this year, you'll absolutely take that. The one thing coming out of this series that may be still a little bit of a concern for the Phillies, and I'm not saying they're now the perfect baseball team and they'll never lose again and all the problems are fixed and see, I told you so. No, there will be stretches where the Phillies fall back into stuff that we've seen them do this year, which is inconsistent offense. There will be guys in the bullpen that do struggle. Like there will be points where they make bad base running decisions and they have defensive lapses, but like not to the level where it's going to kill them at any point, at least in the regular season. So I'm just saying that to say, hey, they're not a perfect baseball team, and I'm not trying to say they are. But the only real concern in the immediacy right now is Zach Wheeler, who threw in the series finale. His velocity was once again down, and his command did not look great. And he soldiered through, right? He fought through, and he gave the Phillies a good enough performance to keep them in the ballgame to the point where when they started scoring late, they were able to win that game. So credit to Zach Wheeler. Like, he's still got stuff to get guys out, and he still has good breaking stuff when his fastball isn't working, good fastball when his breaking stuff isn't working. He's just got so many weapons in his tool belt to use to get guys out. So I think he's going to be okay, but I wonder if the concern is still raised for people about Zach Wheeler's health with the shoulder soreness that caused the start to get pushed from Friday to Sunday. Well, he didn't look like he was all of a sudden back up throwing 97 or maybe 98, right? It's just not the guy that we saw in the final game of this series. And you wonder what the longevity is for Wheeler. Now, the good news is if the Phillies keep playing like this, they're buying themselves more room to maybe make conservative decisions with the rotation or with players that may need a day or a week or a couple of weeks. I hope it doesn't come to that for Zach Wheeler. But if it does, the Phillies are building themselves a nice cushion in the division, which we're going to talk about when we get into the standings check-in portion of the podcast coming up in just a little bit. But like that Wheeler start on Sunday was the only kind of concerning thing. And if that's concerning, what he was able to do, and I'll get you his stat line here in a second, like we have very few problems if that's the biggest problem. He only went 5 innings, threw 83 pitches, struck out 7, allowed 2 earned, walked 3, right? That's a solid line for your average major league pitcher. For Zach Wheeler, that's a bad day. And bad days can still win you ball games when your bad days are what Zach Wheeler puts out there. So I loved what I saw in this series from the Phillies. And you know what? I'm trying to bite my tongue here because I don't want to be this is what I was telling you for months and months and months about this baseball team. Because one, mission is not nearly accomplished. They have not clinched postseason. They have not clinched division. They have not won a postseason series. They have not won the World Series. So we are so many steps away from saying, see, I told you so. But what I will say is to all those people that said, season's over, this team stinks, why would you go in on this team at the trade deadline and be buyers? You should trade Schwarber. You should trade Ranger. You should trade Nola. You should trade Castellanos. They're not going to win. Don't you feel silly right now? That's all I'm going to say, right? You might say, oh, well, when October rolls around, they're going to do the same old thing. If you live like that, you're basically Chicken Little, just selling everybody the sky is falling, right? Enjoy baseball. You have one of the better teams in baseball. In fact, when you look at the standings, you have one of the 2 best teams in baseball by record. The run differential starting to look good. We're going to talk about all of this, but these are the series that you dream about that shows you the ceiling of this team. And you know what's funny? They still left some stuff out there on the field. And the Rangers are no slouch team. That was a team that was hot at home, is fighting for a postseason spot in the American League, and they believe that they are good enough to make that push. They won the World Series 2 years ago. We all remember the 2023 season, unfortunately, even though we wish we could wipe it from our memory. So it's not like you just, swept the Rockies and I'm sitting here spouting off about how great the Phillies are. And I was like, dude, chill. They're not even that good of a baseball team, the team that they beat. The Rangers are a good team. You go on the road to a place where you had not won. You sweep them out, dominant fashion. And that should make everybody feel very, very happy about the weekend that the Philadelphia Phillies put together. And all you have to do now is go to Cincinnati, win 2 or 3. And it's a successful road trip. Heck, if you win 1 of the 3 games in Cincinnati, you could probably still say, hey, successful road trip. You won 4, you lost 2. But I'm going to get greedy because this team is starting to roll. And the other teams around the Philadelphia Phillies, especially in the National League East, are not rolling whatsoever. We talk standings and where the Phillies have found themselves after a dominant stretch of ball as we continue today's episode. Let's talk about Game Day Hue, because today's episode is brought to you by Game Day Hue, and they make clean, no logo gear with team-inspired colorways for every pro and college fan base. It's all about letting your color speak for you. No giant logos, just smart, versatile style that works on game day, on the course, or anywhere in between. I love rocking it everywhere. I wear it to work for radio stuff when I'm on YouTube there. So I wear it on video there. I wear it on video here for the podcast. They have stuff for the golf course. I played golf this weekend. I wore the golf glove they sent me. It's stylish. It's comfortable. They make really great gear. And it doesn't have like those big gaudy logos on it that you see from some companies. No, it's just the color of your team, nice and understated, and it goes with anything that's your team color. It pairs perfectly. That's because they've got it down to a science, picking the exact hue of each and every team. And like I said, it's not just hats. Check out their split shade gloves made for the golf course, or the perfect gift for the fan who has everything. And right now you can get 15% off with code MLB15 at GameDayHue.com. That's GameDayHue, HUE.com. The code even stacks on bundled deals, so now's the time to load up. Let your colors talk, because colors speak louder than words. That's GameDayHue.com, code MLB15. This is going to be fun, folks. Let's take a look at the Major League Baseball standings. There have been points this year where this has not been as fun for the Philadelphia Phillies to take a look at. But as we sit here post-Phillies series with the Rangers, they're in a pretty darn good spot compared to just about everybody else in baseball. Now, we got to bring this up. The Milwaukee Brewers, who swept out the Mets. Thank you, by the way, Milwaukee Brewers. They're insane. They're 73-44. They're playing at an unbelievable clip. They're 5 games better than the Phillies, who have been red hot lately. So what do you even do there? You got to hope Milwaukee cools off a little bit. But outside of the Milwaukee Brewers, do you know how many teams have a better record than the Philadelphia Phillies right now? None. They are tied with the Dodgers for the second best record in baseball at 68-49. That's insane, right? Where they've been at points this season, the up and down nature. And now as we sit here on August 11th, they are the second best team in baseball, or at least tied for the second best team in baseball. Give the Dodgers the nod. Fine. They're the third best team in baseball. Like, whatever you want to say, they are in the upper echelon of teams in baseball. They're 37-21 at home, and following the sweep in Texas, now 31-28 on the road. So 3 games above on the road and 16 games above at home, which leads to their 19 games above 500 record, the best mark that they've had to 500 at any point this season. So yes, this is the peak that we've seen from the Philadelphia Phillies, but doesn't stop there. Take a look at the run differential next time you look at the standings. The best run differential in baseball, no surprise, the Milwaukee Brewers, plus 132. The Chicago Cubs, plus 118. We know their offense is outstanding. Now, we also know that the Phillies took the season series over the Cubs, so they will have the tiebreaker, and they can beat that team. But the Phillies have the third best run differential in baseball. That's with a bullpen that stunk for a while, that were giving crazy amounts of runs up. That's with a rotation that has had its strengths, but also its weaknesses. With an offense that has been inconsistent at points, sometimes for weeks at a time. They have the third best run differential in all of baseball. So the Brewers, Cubs, Phillies, they're all up there. But the fact that the Phillies are in that situation with the way that their season has gone is impressive. And you just look at the teams that are around them. This is what's tricky about the standings, though. This is a little bit of a red flag here, right? Remember, I said the only real concern is like whether or not Wheeler's good, and we'll keep an eye on that. And we didn't really gain a lot of confidence from how he threw in the final game of the series. This is troubling. The Brewers have the best record in baseball. Phils and Dodgers tied for the second best record in baseball. Cubs have the 4th best record in baseball. 4 National League teams all up there at the top. Then it's the Blue Jays, Tigers, and Astros. But then it's the Padres down there at 65 and 52, who are only 3 games off the pace that the Phillies and Dodgers are setting right now. The Mets, we will talk about them when we talk about the NL East. But they have dropped significantly because they have lost 7 straight baseball games. But we just talked about the National League. Let's cut it down to division. Let's talk about the NL East because there were some worries that the Phillies were letting this division get away from them. And this race is not wrapped up, all right? The Phillies have played 117 games. Not a math guy. I've stated this many times. 117 games played so far by the Philadelphia Phillies. So you still have like 40-some more to go, if my math is correct, which it rarely is. There's a lot that can change. But right now in the division, the Phillies hold a 5.5-game lead over the New York Mets. I remember them trailing the Mets recently. And all of a sudden, flip-flop. Just in the snap of a finger, the Mets have gone ice cold. The Phillies have gone red hot. They're 7-3 in their last 10. The Mets are 1-9 in their last 10. I mean, don't look now, but the Marlins are 57 and 61, and they're not going to catch the Mets, but they're only 6 games back on where the New York Mets are. The Braves, 17.5 back of the Phillies. They're out of it. The Nationals, 21.5 back, out of it. That's the basement dweller in the National League East. The Marlins maybe will find their way into a wild card spot, though I don't see it as likely that they'll be in contention. Really, there's only 2 potential playoff teams in the National League East, the Phillies and the Mets have been falling apart. And how have they been falling apart? Well, that starting pitching that I told you was going to come back down to earth has come back down to earth. Their offense is going quiet. It happens to other teams too. Who knew? I thought it was just the Phillies. You'd believe that if you saw some of the commentary from the fan base throughout this year. But it turns out that in baseball, sometimes teams get hot, sometimes teams get cold. And right now, you're looking at it and you're saying, okay, well, the Phils have a pretty darn easy stretch here for a little bit. Let's take a look. They've got the Reds for 3. They've got the Nationals for 4. They've got the Mariners for 3. Mariners are a winning baseball team, but a beatable baseball team. Then you got the Nationals for 3 more. Then you get the Mets in late August. Then the Braves, who are like, you see the Braves on the schedule, and it's like, but they're 51 and 67. They're 16 games under 500 this year. They've got an easy rest of the month of August. The Phillies should extend this lead in the division, not just hold it. They should be up more than 5.5 games by the end of the month of August, especially when you look at, well, what the Mets are doing. Now, they'll play the Braves. Again, Braves not that good of a team, but divisional matchup. Same thing as when they play the Phillies. The Mariners, we talked about it. The Nationals, the Braves again, the Phillies, Marlins are sneaky giving teams tough times, right? The Marlins have actually been kind of hot lately. I just want to go through. They before the series with the Braves, they had won. What did they play? Back-to-back series against the Braves? That was kind of weird to check that out. But they handled a game against the Astros. They took 3 from the Yankees. They can beat good teams, the Marlins can. So the Mets, they also don't have the toughest month, but they don't have an easy enough month. They should be able to make up ground on the fighting Phils. Everything feels great in Phillies land right now. So where does your mind go when you see this in the standings and you know that it's August 11th and we've got a month and 3 quarters, I guess? Let's just call it a month and a half until the end of the season. Well, now we start to think about, how do you match up? Who would your first round postseason series be against? That's more of a late August thing. We're not that far away. It's going to get on us before we know it. And the Phillies are starting to put themselves in real good position to maybe lock down one of those first round buys, to at least keep themselves out of that wild card matchup where you don't want to have to play a 3-game series against a dangerous team, because the National League has some dangerous teams. And then you can just go ahead and rest and figure out that formula for not coming out of the bye cold like they did last year. We're not going to think about this. So it's a positive time right now for the Philadelphia Phillies, and the standings would reflect that. And the Mets falling apart makes it even sweeter what the Phillies were able to do this weekend. So everything's good. That is the theme of today's podcast. Life's good as a Philadelphia Phillies fan, and it's a beautiful thing what Dave Dombrowski did at the trade deadline to help this team get here. Clearly, the players believe he's done enough because they're playing like they got the boost that we thought they could. It's a great thing. Coming up next, we're going to talk about how they continue it, because they're not getting the day off. No. Hopped on a plane from Texas, got to Cincinnati, playing the Reds tonight, starting a series, 3 games with a solid baseball team. So coming up next, we are going to preview Phillies Reds overall, some tough pitching matchups for both sides, depending on how you look at it, and an opportunity for the Phillies to make this one heck of a road trip. We'll talk about it as we wrap up today's episode of Locked On Phillies. Let's talk about FanDuel first, though, because August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week one even kicks off, go with the birds. This is your moment. So take a flyer on the MVP race. I know Jalen Hurts' odds are not going to be great. He's got Saquon, he's got A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, a great line, all of this stuff, and he doesn't really throw the ball that much. But you know what you do? You take a peek at that and you say, okay, well, he's been in the MVP race past 3 years, really. December rolls around, and Jalen Hurts is right up there with some of the best odds in football. Take a flyer on him. Why not? FanDuel's going to cut you a deal. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. That's August 26th. FanDuel. Play your game. So Cincinnati welcomes the Phillies up there to Ohio for a 3-game set to round out this road trip for the Phillies. A short 2-series road trip before they, I lied. They go on the road to Washington. So I completely messed that up. I completely did not see that. So that's on me. One series at a time. That's the way smart people take in baseball, right? It's also on me for not looking further down the schedule. Either way, we're looking at Cincinnati, and tonight's a tough matchup. You've got Andrew Abbott on the mound, who's 8-2 with the 2.34 ERA. If there's a guy in this Reds rotation that is noteworthy, it's Abbott. And he was pretty darn good earlier this year against the Phillies when they saw him. So we will see if he has the similar luck or if the Phillies can solve him this time around. Left-handed pitcher, so you're probably going to see Harrison Bader out there again. We may see Edmundo Sosa at second. We will see what they're able to do with trying to balance that out. But Phillies have gotten better at hitting lefties since the trade deadline with the addition of Harrison Bader. Kyle Schwarber's been real good at it all year. Bryce Harper's starting to get hot again. He had a big RBI on Sunday in the final game of the series with the Rangers. So maybe they can get him. Taijuan Walker goes for the Phillies. So that's advantage Reds in the first pitching matchup. But then Ranger Suarez on the mound for game 2 gives advantage to the Phillies, especially against Brady Singer, who's got himself a 4.53 ERA. This is where we get into the part of the Reds rotation that you should be able to beat. And then you round out with Christopher Sanchez against Hunter Green, and that's just one that's going to be great pitching. Green a 2.72 ERA, Sanchez a 2.36 ERA. Now, here's all you need to know about the quality of team comparison, right? Because the Reds are, 5 games above 500? Hunter Green with a 2.72 ERA, a .97 whip, 73 strikeouts. His record's 4-3. Now, he was hurt for part of this year, so he's only got 59 2/3 innings pitched. But my point is this: that guy's 1 game above 500 in his individual record. Sanchez, with somewhat similar numbers, if you project Green out to the amount of innings Sanchez has thrown, is 11-3 and a Cy Young candidate. Like, the Reds they don't win as much as the Philadelphia Phillies do, and part of the reason is the offense. Elly De La Cruz is leading the Reds with 19 home runs. He's leading the Reds with 277 average, and he's leading the Reds with 74 RBIs. Schwarber leads the Phils with 41 homers, 95 RBIs, and Trey Turner's batting 282. So basically, you stay away from Elly De La Cruz, and you should be all right in this series. You get to Hunter Green, you get to Andrew Abbott, and you may be able to make some things work. But you're going to have to continue to put together good at-bats. You did just see, though, in Texas, the best rotation in baseball by numbers. So Cincinnati's not going to be that level of competition for the Phillies. It doesn't mean they can get away with just going back to a bad approach at the plate, though, and not doing what they did to work pitches up. Like when they saw Merrill Kelly in game 1 of this series against the Rangers, they worked pitch count to the point where they got him out of there early. They somewhat did that again today. The only guy they didn't really do it against is Jacob deGrom. And even then, they were able to get to the bullpen at some point and cash in against the bullpen. But TJ Friedel's batting 273. That's the only other guy that's above 270 on this team with enough qualified at-bats, I believe. There's another dude down here. Marte is batting 287 in 171 at-bats, so a much smaller sample size there. But The other guys, Steer batting 241, McLean 226, Gavin Lux. Oh, Gavin Lux is batting 274. I missed him in there too. So another guy to keep an eye on. But they don't really have anything crazy as far as pop either. De La Cruz has 19 homers. The next highest is Spencer Steer with 14. McLean has 11. Austin Hayes, our old pal, maybe not some people's pal, but former Philly from last year's trade deadline, has 10. And his average has dropped to 255, even though he's sitting over 300 for like the first 2 months of the season. So he's cooled off. But they just don't really have pop. 5 guys with double-digit homers, and only one of them above 14. The Phillies have started to really put it together to the point where their power numbers are looking a lot more respectable. And the Reds should not be able to keep up with the firepower of this offense, right? Like, they're not going to kill you with the long ball. They do like to be aggressive on the base paths. And that's something we've seen from Cincinnati, not just in the Ellie De La Cruz era, even though a lot of it is Ellie and his ability to just be electric when he gets on base, but because they're a team that knows that they got to scrape and claw for what they can get offensively. And that leads to them being more aggressive. So it could be a big series for JT Realmuto behind the dish. If he does indeed catch all 3 games or 2 of the 3 games, controlling the running game is going to be important. It's a great time to have Taijuan Walker on the mound because even though he's right-handed, he's very good at controlling the running game. And then you got Ranger Suarez and Christopher Sanchez, lefty and lefty, which means you'll be able to hold runners on first base at least much easier than right-handed pitchers do. So I really like the Phillies matchup in this series with the Reds. I think they win 2 games out of 3. I think they continue this hot stretch. I'm not going to go out and predict a sweep or anything like that. I can't do that. I mean, if you go back and you watch the crossover episode with myself and Bryce Paterick of Locked On Rangers before this last series, you see me saying, hey, I don't think either of us would be surprised if our team wins 2 out of 3 or loses 2 out of 3. Now, I'm shocked that the Phillies ended up with a sweep considering how well the Rangers have been playing and all of that, but that's why you don't go into a series expecting a sweep. And if it happens, hey, it's like found money, basically. All right, so 2 of 3 in Cincinnati against the Reds, and then you will take it to Washington for a chance to continue. And that is a beautiful end of the road trip because that should make you really, really comfortable to take care of business there and have a good series and continue to add to your lead in the division if you can, if the Mets continue to struggle, which it seems like they're going to. Bad vibes up there in New York right now. So the keys to the series against the Reds, just one more time. They're not going to kill you with power, so go after them. Do not put runners on. Do not allow them opportunities to control the running game from the base paths. Control the running game your own when you do let runners on, and continue to keep your good approach because they are going to have some strong arms. But if you can get to the bullpen, that's one of the weak spots of this Reds roster, right? They have some solid starting pitching at points, a couple of guys, but the bullpen gettable, like most bullpens in baseball, because frankly, there just aren't that many high-level arms that get spread out amongst these teams. There's some good guys, but they're not going to blow the doors off you in the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning. The Phillies, all of a sudden, they are that team. So if you roll into the 7th and 8th and you're holding the lead, I just want you to ask yourself this right now, and this is something that we'll just round out the episode with. 2 months ago, the Phillies roll into the 8th and 9th innings, holding a 1-run lead. You are chewing on your fingernails, saying, God, please don't let this guy throw. Don't let that guy throw. Hopefully a miracle happens and we get out of this without runs allowed. Now, it's kind of like, okay, I feel pretty darn confident that this game is just about over because of the guys that they have and the roles that they've settled into. Now, maybe this is just a hot stretch, right? Like maybe it won't always be like this. But how quickly things have changed for the Philadelphia Phillies, not just on team makeup, but performance, style of play, confidence from the fan base. It's crazy how quickly things can flip. That also should be a reminder they can always flip in the negative direction as well. And I'm not trying to crown them anything yet. Nope, not a playoff team, not a division winner, not a series winner in the postseason, not a World Series winner. We're not there yet. But the Phillies this weekend showed you that they have every ability to take a big step towards doing that. Now, you just got to take care of the business that's in front of you. And next up, in front of the buzzsaw that is the current Phillies, we'll see you in Cincinnati. That's all for today's episode of Locked On Phillies. Thank you so much for joining us. Once again, we're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Please make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribing to the YouTube, all that great stuff that really helps us out. Appreciate that very much. And I will talk to you next time on the next episode of Locked On Phillies.